On behalf of the Board of Four Rivers, welcome to our annual Heritage Awards for the year 2020. My name is Tim Leahy, and I serve as the board chair. I thank all of you for the hard work that you do to bring the variety of preservation and education programs to the citizens of Anne Arundel County, to the state of Maryland, and well beyond. In these challenging times, we've learned that these programs are essential. Our virtual awards this year are a testament to your resilience and dedication. Speaking of dedication, I'd now like to turn the program over to our Executive Director, Carol Benson.
Hello, I'm Carol Benson, Executive Director of the Four Rivers Heritage Area. I'm honored to host today's presentation of our 17th Annual Heritage Awards. On behalf of the organization, I'd like to state that while we're sorry not to be able to share this with you in person this year, we are very pleased to be part of a virtual version, recognizing the success and many accomplishments of the distinguished honorees of our Heritage Awards in 2020.
The Four Rivers Heritage Area is a partnership with the Maryland Heritage Areas Authority, Anne Arundel County, the City of Annapolis, the Town of Highland Beach, and our heritage-related nonprofit organizations and businesses. We are part of the outstanding Maryland Heritage Areas program. It is a privilege to work with the members of the authority, with our fellow Heritage Area colleagues, and with our many partners as we collaborate to build a stronger destination through our collective work together. With these Heritage Awards, we celebrate excellence. We appreciate the high standards, creativity, passion, dedication, and perseverance of our heritage partners. We see these as the assets that make Four Rivers stand out among heritage areas for quality, variety, authenticity, and making our heritage come alive. The Four Rivers Heritage Awards recognize individuals, organizations, exhibits, programs, products, and other activities that contribute significantly to the community by interpreting, promoting, preserving, researching, and supporting our historical legacy. Our first award is the Heritage Tourism Product Award. This award recognizes an outstanding heritage tourism product, such as an exhibit, self-guided or guided tour, event, video, or website. This year, we recognize two very different heritage products. One, an outdoor heritage experience on the bay, and the other, a detailed illustrated book of Annapolis's greatest landmark. This year, we are pleased to recognize the Annapolis Maritime Museum's Wilma Lee Tour as the Heritage Tourism Experience of the Year. In June of 2018, with financial support from a private donor, the museum purchased this historic skipjack to return her to the waters of the Chesapeake Bay and to better accomplish its mission of educating youth and adults about the Annapolis area's rich maritime heritage and ecology of the Chesapeake Bay. 2 years of efforts were needed to restore the skipjack to become seaworthy for public programs. This year, despite the pandemic and the requirement to operate at 50% of capacity, the museum was able to offer heritage cruises, sunset cruises, Wednesday night race, watch parties, specialty cruises, and educational cruises for the public. The Wilma Lee Heritage Cruise is a 2-hour experience that was developed with the support of a Four Rivers mini grant. The tour focuses on Annapolis's maritime heritage and the ecology of the Chesapeake Bay and takes passengers from City Dock, down the Severn River, and past popular landmarks like the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and the Naval Academy. Topics include historic workboats, watermen, oysters, Cars and Sparrows beaches, the Thomas Point Shoal Lighthouse, Eastport boatyards, and many more aspects of our local maritime heritage. For a much-needed outdoor, safe, and authentic way for visitors to connect with the Chesapeake Bay, please join me in recognizing the Annapolis Maritime Museum's Wilma Lee Tour as this year's Heritage Tourism Experience honoree. Our next award recognizes an outstanding publication as our second heritage tourism product to be recognized. This year, the Maryland State Archives published The Maryland State House, 250 Years of History, a comprehensive guide to the National Historic Landmark Building and its artwork to augment the historical exhibits on display and to provide material for guides and visitors on tours. It makes use of 20 years of in-depth research describing important state and national events that have taken place here since its completion in 1779. The 250 years in the title acknowledges the passage of a bill by the state legislature in 1769 calling for the construction of a new building, replacing the earlier version of 1707 that had long outgrown its purpose of housing state government and its records. The book is written by author Mimi Scrivener-Calver with new photography by Medford Canby. And because it was published in summer 2020, it has come at an especially fortuitous time, when the building has been closed to the public for months and will remain closed for the indefinite future. It provides an in-depth tour for readers, showing them what they are now unable to see in person, and giving them in-depth interpretive and descriptive information of the structure, its artwork, and the memorials within. For a beautifully illustrated and accessible guide to the Maryland State House and its grounds, please join me in recognizing the Maryland State House, 250 Years of History, as this year's Heritage Tourism Product honoree. The Volunteer of the Year Award recognizes an outstanding volunteer who has made a significant difference to the growth, sustainability, programming, or other essential element of a partner organization. This year, there are 2 individuals to recognize. This volunteer from Galesville is a longtime board member for the Galesville Historical Society and has led additional community activities focused on Galesville history and other strategic planning efforts to benefit the local community. Kathy Oliver is a leader who can take a project from conception to completion to day of public celebration, as she did with the very successful Pathway to Memories Walkway project, which required dedication and perseverance to see it through both an MHT easement negotiation and ADA compliance regulations, as it also raised funds through the sale of the paving bricks inscribed with names and messages from patrons. She then led the effort to keep the community's sense of heritage current through a Galesville trivia game night that captured local enthusiasm for history in a big way. She also led efforts to initiate and complete a new 5-year strategic plan for the organization, and is a founding member of a larger planning effort called Envisioning Galesville. For leading the way for community involvement with heritage activities in Galesville, please join me in recognizing Kathy Oliver as the first of our Heritage Volunteers of the Year. This next volunteer from Annapolis, Catherine Schmidt, is our second honoree for Volunteer of the Year. After retiring from a 30-year career of teaching at the Park School in Baltimore, Catherine has found not one, but numerous roles to fill at historic Annapolis. From volunteer docent in the Paca House and Paca Garden, to education volunteer for children's programs and public days, to researcher for new public programs ideas, to curatorial support, and even development department needs, this all-around volunteer is described as a tireless team player with fabulous ideas and a strong sense of community who can connect with visitors of all ages and levels of interest. For her dedication to authentic interpretation and educational programs at Historic Annapolis, please join me in recognizing Catherine Schmidt as our second Heritage Volunteer of the Year. The Heritage Legacy Award recognizes an individual, group, or event that continues or preserves a traditional craft or livelihood. A craftsperson, waterman, farmer, quilter, musician, boat builder, etc. This year's award goes to the Galesville Community Center organization and to their speaker, Vincent O. Leggett, for sharing and celebrating the legacy of Chesapeake foodways in programs for Black History Month and for Maryland Day. The Galesville Community Center organization has taken the lead in South County in sharing a combination of lectures, community memories, and oral histories, and in-person food tastings to bring back the culinary legacy of the area for old and new audiences alike. This year they sponsored 2 outstanding programs with a unique combination of facts, images, personal memories, and traditional foods. The first featuring the noted speaker and Admiral of the Chesapeake, Vincent Leggett, and the second focused on the Margaret Crowner Cookshop that was an early feature of the Galesville community. Vincent Leggett is a long-standing partner of the Galesville Community Center and of Four Rivers, and in February 2020, he presented a well-attended multimedia lecture and discussion where participants came together to share family recipes and stories of attending the renowned events at Carr's and Sparrows Beaches. Called Cooking on the Chesapeake, the event focused on the fruits of the bay, as well as the food-related experiences to be had at the famous beach venues owned and operated by Elizabeth Carr Smith and her sister Florence Carr Sparrow during the 1930s to the 1970s. The presentation was recorded and is available to watch on the Four Rivers website in addition to YouTube. For bringing authentic stories of traditional local foodways to new audiences, please join me in recognizing the Galesville Community Center organization and speaker Vincent Leggett with the Heritage Legacy Award this year. The Heritage Partnership Award recognizes an outstanding regional partnership in heritage interpretation, preservation, stewardship, and/or education. This year, we recognize a partnership that came together to present an outstanding event, a celebration of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, which took place on February 15th. On that Saturday, the Maryland State Archives, with support from a number of local organizations and businesses, held a widely publicized event in honor of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass to introduce 2 new, beautifully made bronze statues honoring Tubman and Douglass that had just been installed in the old House of Delegate chambers of the Maryland State House. The event was designed to not only allow the public to see the new statues, but also to provide attendees with information about and insight into the lives of Tubman and Douglass through lectures and discussions. Copies of the updated and revised Guide to the History of Slavery in Maryland were given out free to all attendees, along with other interpretive materials. To plan and carry out this unusual event, the Maryland State Archives created partnerships with many state and local entities whose missions mirror its own. The Legacy of Slavery in Maryland program of the Maryland State Archives conceived of this public event, and archive staff carried out all of the planning and execution of it on that day. Partners included the Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture and the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom of the National Park Service. Also crucial for event support was the Office of Tourism of the Maryland Department of Commerce, Annapolis Transportation Solutions, and Small Cakes of Annapolis. Midshipmen from the Naval Academy volunteered to run children's activities, and guests were treated to a treat called Frederick Douglass's Favorite Ginger Cookie, made by the chefs of Government House, served with a version of Harriet Tubman's Butter Tea. The Friends of the Maryland State Archives provided honorarium funding for the speakers. For Rivers is proud to say that we too were one of the event sponsors. A descendant of Frederick Douglass gave a talk about his life, and another speaker, Millicent Sparks, gave a living history portrayal of Harriet Tubman. During the afternoon, the Extensions of Faith Praise Choir provided a beautiful performance in the State House Rotunda. Nearly 1,000 people of all ages attended the day-long event, many of whom were delighted to have their pictures taken with the statues of Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. For an outstanding event celebrating the installation of the statues of Maryland's most prominent African American leaders, Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, in the House of Delegates chamber of the Maryland State House, we recognize this highly successful program as our Heritage Partnership of the Year. The Heritage Interpreter Award recognizes a docent, educator, tour guide, or volunteer who provides outstanding factual and educational information to the public. This year, we recognize Nanetta Hall of Historic Annapolis. Nanetta came to Historic Annapolis in 2016 as a volunteer seeking to become involved in educational programs. She had a military background with 20 years of active duty service in the United States Air Force and a deployment to Iraq. And after her retirement, she sought to continue her service to the community by adding her voice to the diversity of the interpretation at the site, by learning to become a living history interpreter as Sarah, an enslaved cook in the kitchen of the William Paca House. Her passionate style and carefully chosen words have enriched the experience of hundreds of school children who visited the historic house. She also took the lead in the after-school program known as Footprints for grades 2 through 5 at local Annapolis Title I schools, teaching students about colonial people's roles in daily life, from bound labor to tradespeople to the elite. Her efforts have become a great success in weaving together interpretation with living history experiences that resonate for listeners. For her inspirational portrayal of an enslaved cook and other living history interpretation for visitors of all ages to Annapolis, please join me in recognizing Nanetta Hall as our Interpreter of the Year. The Public-Private Initiative Award is a relatively new category in a field that has become increasingly important and relevant. This award recognizes an outstanding initiative undertaken through a partnership of public and private businesses or organizations to promote local heritage through historical signs or markers, displays, brochures, tours, or public programs. This year, we are pleased to recognize the Anne Arundel County Lynching Memorial and the public and private entities and individuals that worked together to make this important memorial happen. Negotiation about the location of the memorial resulted in its placement in Whitmore Park on Calvert Street in Annapolis. County Executive Stuart Pittman enlisted the help of local historians to draft the monument's text. When the day came for its unveiling, a host of social justice activists, local politicians, and residents gathered to commemorate the 5 African Americans who were lynched in Anne Arundel County. The primary partners included Connecting the Dots, the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, the Equal Justice Initiative, Anne Arundel County, and the City of Annapolis. This important memorial would not have happened without the efforts of many individuals, including Monica Lindsay and Jennifer Haber as co-chairs, and Emma Buckman, Lee Zanger, Jane Zanger, Renee Cantori, Will Schwartz, and Janice Hayes Williams, and more. For their leadership in erecting an important public memorial acknowledging that lynching took place in our community, please join us as we recognize the partners who worked together to achieve the Anne Arundel County Lynching Memorial with our Public-Private Partnership Award. Our next category is the Heritage Professional of the Year. This award recognizes an individual among our professional colleagues who has made significant professional contributions to heritage interpretation, stewardship, and/or education. We look for someone who goes beyond the job description, someone who takes the lead and gets things done. This year's recognition goes to Carrie Kiewit of Historic Annapolis. Carrie embodies the many characteristics that define an exceptional heritage professional. She is thoughtful, pragmatic, hardworking, and passionate about her work. In her 20-year career at Historic Annapolis, she can look back at many accomplishments, such as well-established major fundraising events like Annapolis by Candlelight, and the refined branding and marketing strategies rolled out in recent years. Membership programs are thriving and expanding under her leadership. She's at the helm of the successful communication systems of the organization, both external and in-house. And her deep experience and institutional knowledge make her an asset in decision-making for education, retail, partnerships, and strategic initiatives as well. She has truly made her mark and earned the sincere admiration of her colleagues. For her long-lasting commitment to cultural heritage preservation, advocacy, and education in Annapolis, please join me in recognizing Carrie Kiewit as the Heritage Professional of the Year. Finally, the Heritage Leadership Award, which recognizes an individual or organization for significant and long-lasting contributions to the community by interpreting, preserving, promoting, researching, and/or supporting local history and heritage. This year, we recognize Mimi Scrivener-Calver. The nomination we received notes that Mimi has been working in a variety of roles, serving state government for nearly 40 years. She has often served behind the scenes, providing the words used by public officials to commemorate historic events, but has also established her own place as a leader in the interpretation of Maryland's history as an author, an editor, and in setting an example of excellence as she has mentored a new generation of public servants and heritage professionals who carry her high standards into their own work at institutions throughout the region. Starting with bicentennial events commemorating Washington's resignation as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army and the Treaty of Paris in 1983-84, up to this year's publication of the book about the Maryland State House we recognized earlier. Mimi has left her mark through numerous publications and events for the public, and through the now well-established relationship between the State House Trust and the Maryland State Archives that remains today. The crowning achievement of that union has been the State House Visitor Experience Master Plan, which has guided the implementation of new signage, exhibits, and interpretation in the State House over the past 15 years, and has resulted in the exceptional experience that visitors to that national landmark can now enjoy. For her outstanding and lifelong dedication to the interpretation of Maryland's history, it is our great pleasure to recognize Mimi Scrivener-Calver with the Heritage Leadership Award this year. This concludes our presentation. Our heartiest congratulations to this year's honorees of the 17th Annual Four Rivers Heritage Awards. Congratulations, one and all. Thank you.